Hey everybody, you know what time it is. It is Sipping with Sue time, and we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you are not familiar with us, we are chatting with real people doing real things extraordinarily. And if you haven't made it over to my YouTube channel, please do hit subscribe and hit the bell as well so that you can get all of the latest notifications as soon as they happen. I have the pleasure of hanging out today. Cheers, my friend, on this
Cheers to you.
wonderful Friday. TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday. We're done with the work week. We get to let our hair down or out in your
Or
case.
out in my case a little bit. Yes.
It's been so long since I've seen you. Oh, it's so nice to see you. So it is welcome to the end of another week. It is the first weekend actually of Black History Month. And so we're all in celebration for that. Cheers. And
Cheers
I
to
am
you as well.
excited to chat with my good friend and fellow brother in arms, I like to call him Professor, but it's Mr. Oshawn Jefferson. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. It's been so long. So
I
it's great
know.
it's great to talk with you on this Black History Month and catch up a little bit. So
Yeah,
I'm
definitely,
I
definitely.
brought a little tiny port with me. So
And I've
um
got I've got my bubbly, so I've got my prosecco, and I do have Michelle Bell on. Cheers, my sister.
cheers,
So cheers,
cheers.
cheers to everybody for sure. So yeah, I've got my prosecco. You've got your port. So sip, sip.
Sip sip. All right.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Because it's happy hour everywhere. We know we got this.
Everywhere.
So, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, so that some of our folks out here can get acquainted with you. I mean, O and I met during deployment. Actually, where were you stationed again?
At that time I was at
South Carolina.
Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington State.
You were where chances.
Yep.
All right, so you're at JBLM, and I was here in Texas, and we deployed out
Qatar.
to Qatar. Qatar.
Mhm.
Yeah, we were the dream team. We were the dream
Yes.
team.
We did a lot of traveling, and hard to believe that's 2010 into 11.
I
So
know.
that was a
I
long time
know.
ago. So the fun is on the beaches and stuff. Then, well, since then I retired. So I retired back in 2019. So 22 years, 9 months, and 11 days. Not that I'm counting. Um,
20
but
years and 15 days, they all count. Yes, sir.
they all count, right? That DD 214 does speak well.
That's
And
right. That's right.
so when I retired, I went to the Defense Information School, did a little teaching, but then also started my own consultancy agency called Deal Solutions Group, and we specialize in strategic communication, business development, stuff like that. But our really big push, especially since 2020, has been diversity, inclusion, and belonging,
Hmm.
which is
So you
which is
guys
something
do
close to my heart.
DIB as opposed to DIE, right? Is there
Well,
a difference?
yeah, there's a big six. So
Okay.
and I think there's the traditional, as people know it, diversity, inclusion, and equity
Equity.
or
Hmm.
equality.
Hmm.
But the big six now is diversity, inclusion, equity, belonging, justice, and equality.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's what you hear people talking about the most. But it's all still under the umbrella of diversity. And
Hmm.
so it's really just about making it real. Diversity kind of came about in 1964 following the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So the term diversity or some of this work is not new, but
Hmm.
after the death of George Floyd, people wanted to see substantive change when it comes to women's compensation in the workplace, pay equity, stuff like that. Seeing communities of underserved communities get supported, and of course, allyship with the LGBTQI community.
Hmm.
So people want to feel real stuff versus the um, good mission statements,
Hmm.
kind of the symbolisms, or what we call the four F's: food, fun, uh, fiesta, and fetish, where we kind of get together and have a party,
Uh-huh.
or we eat, or we try on culture versus actually, engaging and bringing about real change people want to see inside and outside of workplaces.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, so your current work, which is the consulting that you do with Deal Solutions Group, obviously that is dealing with all of that. So, tell us a little bit about your role and what you actually do within this group.
So one of the big things I realized, and you know this, we went to a bunch of trainings that told us, hey, don't do don't sexual assault and awareness. We had all
Mm-hmm.
these trainings where people just sat around, but change starts for the inside, right? It starts with you. So one of the biggest things that I did is I created this thing called Position Me. For a lot of people, a lot of the change that we're asking for, they actually can bring it about. An individual can bring it about if they're just catalyzed and have the passion to do it. So I created this thing called the 5 traits of positioning yourself to fix what you complain about. And
All
the
right.
and so the first one is proactive skill sets. The second one is a global mindset. So you got to do a lot of reading. The third is I'm going to say it wrong. So you got me drinking this one. Igikai. The old brain and bladder don't work like it used to. But but I got that from Japan. So a place where we really didn't get to interact, where we probably intersected with each other once upon a time was in Japan, where
Yes. Yes.
I learned that because I graduated high school there. The third one is Ubuntu, which is an African proverb. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. So it's really about community. And the last one is faith. So whatever your faith perspective is, making sure you're grounded in those morals and values, and not using faith to beat up on somebody, but finding the places that we interconnect to lift one another up. So those 5 traits are really about self leadership, because all diversity inclusion starts with the me first,
Hmm.
versus I can go through 1,000 trainings. So
Hmm.
diversity and inclusion without self accountability is just entertainment.
Wow. Deep. See, this is why he's the professor, you guys. For sure, for sure. Um, so of course it's like the new buzzword, right? Diversity. People are talking about it. I think it's great. I think it's also an amazing thing that we're starting to teach it and understand it, and understand the role that diversity plays in not just the workplace, but like you said, self first, and in your home life, and in all aspects of life. And so, what are some of the few key things that we can also really hone in on, as we go through, our day to day lives?
I think we got to do a better job of just listening to one another. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're so ready um, to respond that
Mm-hmm.
we're talking past one another. And then take the time to educate. I know we're probably all tired of educating people on. I got to tell you one more time why women are important, or I got to tell you one more time why black people are important. We're all sick of explaining ourselves. But I
Right.
think but I think listening is probably the number one thing. And I think the other thing is empathy. I'm not gonna. You and I have a different experience,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to empathize and listen, and I think we go back to the beginning. So the UN wrote something called the Human Rights Declaration of 1948. That
Mm-hmm.
said every human being deserves inherent dignity. And if I learn to just treat people with the basic dignity, we can have a lot more conversations with some of these topics that are really complex. Gen Z is really, they're the what's in it for we generation versus what's in it for me. And
Mm-hmm.
there are kids, Szu-Moy, because we're Gen X. So as much as
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z wants a lot of
Mm-hmm.
credit, we raised them. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
give us a little credit. But but if you remember like how we grew up, we had MTV, we listened to some of everything. So a lot of
Yeah.
that DNA we kind of see in our kids where they're kind of like, let's listen to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we grew up on hip hop, but we also listen to White Snake, and we also listen
Oh, he's
to
bringing it back,
PM
White
Dawn.
Snake.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back because back when we grew up, when I grew up there wasn't BET. You couldn't just watch BET. You had to
Correct.
watch MTV and wait for your song to come on. So
Yep.
you had to listen to the country song, you had to listen to the rock song, the hip
Yep.
hop song. So before you got to the R&B, it wasn't all these channels and Spotify like they had now. So we
Mm-hmm.
so we had to embrace diversity in different ways back then. But I think it's just sitting down, listening, and telling our kids to account for the nuance, right? Because we're quick to counsel somebody versus coach somebody up or teach somebody, and we have to
Mm-hmm.
get back to that. Throwing each other away for one mistake, or and not differentiate between somebody who makes they constantly believe something negative
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody messing up. We have to educate one another and lift one another up, because we can't recreate a world if we don't like a world that excludes people, so we can't
Mm-hmm.
create a new world that still excludes people.
Exactly.
So inclusivity is hard work, and we just have to be willing to do that, to do the work that brings
Mm-hmm.
us together.
Yeah. So big time, like you said, listening and then having empathy and, creating that space around to just, take time to work on it and to, take that into account.
Yeah, and I think, and to find joy, I mean, this is hard work, but to find joy in
Mhm.
it, I find joy in reading and learning about other cultures and
Mhm.
learning about other people's experiences. Just like coming on your channel, and that's the whole point, right? Getting to know somebody, hearing a different perspective, and
Yep.
I think when we are able to do that and have a glass of wine, right,
Absolutely.
and have a sip. See, I'm a sip right now,
Hmm.
so since you said
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
and have a sip, we're able
Yes.
to kind of relax and have a real conversation. So constructive dialogue, if we're able to have more constructive dialogue and be able to listen to perspectives, and the one thing we don't have to do is agree. One
Yeah.
thing I love about the United States is somebody can be an atheist, somebody can be a Christian, and we get to live here together, and you get to live your life from your perspective because it doesn't hurt
Hmm.
anybody. What you believe is what you believe. What I believe is what I believe. But we still got to find a way to work together,
Hmm.
and that's something the military taught us, right? It's
Yes.
no matter where you're from or your background, when we're on mission, we have that together. But
Hmm.
what I liked is when we hung out, we still respected everybody's individualism because
Yes.
we did. You can both see. You have to both see color and respect culture, and be a part of the team. And
Hmm.
that takes work, right? We're not all airmen. I wasn't ever blue. It wasn't just
What do you
just my
mean?
rank. Well,
What
we
do you
were
mean?
airmen when
We
I
all
was
bleed blue. Stop
we all bleed
it.
blue, right? So we were doing the missions, of course, right? But at the end of the day, I'm a father. You're a mother. We have different life experiences, and we respect and listen to that, right? That we knew when airmanship was necessarily to have that task cohesion to get a job done, but we also knew how to respect each other's perspectives when we were just hanging out and get to know each other, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that was that's the thing, that's the bond that really binds us is listening to your story, respecting uh, your perspective and where you're coming from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Michelle had a quick note here. Um, she's saying, would love to have a conversation about those who are high functioning but have autism, the ones that look neurotypical but aren't. Have you dealt with autistic folks before, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, so when you're talking about accessibility or a person with a disability, that's a huge part of diversity. So diversity is not just race and gender. That's kind of what we focus on,
Mhm.
but diversity is also, looking at what does accessibility mean for a person with autism. And you see a lot of workplaces that are really putting forth the effort to bring people with who are high functioning into workplaces, because too often we treat a person with a disability like they don't bring value to an organization or a community,
Mhm.
and that's absolutely falsehood.
Mhm.
So I think the one thing that you see companies doing a lot of is really trying to live up to what the law is, right? 504 compliance is making sure that your workplace is accessible
Mhm.
to everybody. So when you have real thought being put into the to those diverse communities, because as a person of color, even I can forget that a person with a disability is also is a diversity aspect, is a
Mhm.
diversity dimension. So
Mhm.
you see a lot of companies really putting forth the effort, especially companies like Microsoft and Adobe, to bring in high functioning people with autism and finding places where they bring value to the workplace. But so that's a very important conversation and great question.
Awesome. Good deal. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to part of your work within the Deal Solution Group is putting out, I guess, little social media graphics. I don't know what you would call them, but the graphics that you have out there are fantastic. And so, if you've not seen some of the quotes and some of the work that Oshawn is actually pushing out to social media, which is very refreshing, and I learn something every day when I get to see it. It's kind of like the wisdom of the day or the quote of the day or whatnot. But it's more deep rooted into this conversation right now with diversity and communication and listening and making sure that we're inclusive. Um, but they're really good. So can you take us through how you actually come up with some of these quotes and how you kind of what your thought process is and putting these graphics together and putting these pieces together so that you can bring more awareness to folks and kind of they can learn that way.
So one of the things that when I was working at Air War College, I was very you probably heard the term imposter syndrome. I didn't see people a lot who look like me or work like me, and you just sometimes when you're not in a psychological safe place, you don't feel like you belong. But I had
Hmm.
some really good people around me that said, "Hey, Oshawn, what you have worth. What you have to say matters." So one of the mottos I used to say all the time, stuff you say in your head that you don't think is going to resonate with somebody else is, "We can study the thoughts of mankind or become the thoughts that mankind study." And what I
Hmm.
always felt is, we go around, we quote the Dr. Kings and the Rosa Parks and the Ella Bakers during Black History Month, but why aren't we quoting, people like you, Szu-Moy, or people like me? Because it's almost like we have nothing to say. We've kind of silenced 40 years of intellect. And so everybody out there, everybody that's listening to your show, everybody in the world has something to say. So I
Hmm.
took a lot of things that I think in my head, and I said, you know what? I wonder if anybody else could benefit this. I've inspired, you got to inspire you first. You got to inspire yourself every morning. So
Hmm.
sometimes you say something and somebody else goes, oh, wow, that's really, really great. And it kind of, and another person that I really kind of look up to recently, Nipsey Hussle, who passed away. One of his quotes was, "You can't put your expectations of me on me." So you can't put your expectations on me. So part of why I kind of took these quotes and put them in graphics is I wanted to define my own voice.
Hmm.
And just like Dr. King defined his, or Ella Baker defined hers, is we have to define our own voices, because as we study in time, we can't keep putting the burden on Rosa Parks. Today's her birthday, by the way. She'll be
Yes.
109. But they passed away, right? They did their part, so it's our turn to step up and do our part. So, anybody, if you have something to say, yeah, write it down, put it into your own meaning, put it out in the world, and spark a conversation, right? Because that's what they are. They're conversation starters. It's not wisdom that, hey, I'm saying the right thing, but I want to start a conversation and let you get to know me. And I've kind of, I've been able to help clients and other people find their own voice to do the same thing, because we need to study what you're saying, like what you're saying as a mom, what you're saying as a parent of a child living with autism. Your quotes and what inspires you every day is going to inspire somebody else
Hmm.
who's going through that exact same thing. So we have to add on to what the path that our ancestors laid down. So, we thank goodness for Dr. King, but when he was killed in 1968, he doesn't get to make any more quotes, and he doesn't get to write any more books, and we
Hmm.
do a disservice to them if we don't add our voices and add on to the work that they did before us. So that's the thought process behind
I love it. I love it. Awesome. So, um, if folks wanted to get in touch with you to learn a little bit more, or anything about you or the Deal Solution Group, if they have any questions, how can they get in touch with you?
it. Yeah, they can just go to www.dealsolutionsgroup.com, or just come follow me on LinkedIn, because the website, it has a lot of great words on it, but I want to meet you, have a conversation with you. Literally, just email me on LinkedIn, or shoot me an email at oshawn.jefferson@gmail.com. um I'm not anybody famous or special, so I love a good
We're all
conversation
famous in
with
our own right,
anybody.
right? We're all famous in our own right. Stop doing a disservice. Come on. We're all famous in our own right.
On our own right, right. So,
Come on.
but I love a great conversation. So yeah, reach out to me, reach out to our company, and like you said, we share a lot of a great wisdom. And just like you, what I love about LinkedIn is a lot of companies, they don't like to tip their hand, so they don't like your stuff, but they do
Yeah.
DM, and they want it
Mhm.
because they don't want to tip their hand to another company. But a lot of great conversation are sparked also in the group. So there's diversity groups within LinkedIn where you can network, or if you're looking for women empowerment, Black leaders, there's so many professionals that you can have a conversation with. And I think that's the beauty part of talking to somebody. A great conversation is you can just be inspired. And I've had so many people that were just nice enough to do this, like, hey, I see you're in my field. Can we have a conversation? And they go,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's great. And it's just really great. They're so giving of their time. So
I love it. I love it. It's awesome. Okay, so we're going to add all of like your email and your website to the feed once we finish from here. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been so long. For the rest of our dream team, if you guys are out there, we love you guys.
yeah, Chad,
Manny,
Manny,
Tab.
rest in peace, Jimmy Boone. Yes.
Yes, of
Yep.
course. But anything else you'd like to add?
No, I would say this. I really enjoy, like, I'm glad we're having this conversation. This COVID season, I thank God for technology, because without it, a lot of people we haven't seen. There's so much negativity on, we focus on the misinformation, but I
Hmm.
want to encourage people to focus on the positive things, just like what we're doing right here, that you can see somebody's face or that you can keep up with an old friend. I think all my friends from high school, a lot of them are on Facebook. People like 20 years ago, we'd never, we'd lost touch with them and never saw them again. But
Hmm.
now we can enjoy people. So just learn to enjoy things and put positive energy, put positive vibes into the world, have a good conversation, smile at somebody because we need it. Because I think the world is in a place where we're so focused on the negativity that if we just took the time to smile at somebody and have a positive conversation, we can make the world just a little bit better. At least one individual's day, right? I can't boil the ocean, but I can put a smile on your face. So
Exactly, exactly. Thank you so much. Just like I do with all of my guests, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go into a just for fun speed round.
okay,
You
so
ready
I,
for?
I gotta take a sip first. Let's take a sip first. All right.
Okay, okay. Remember, cheers, you guys. Sipping, sipping.
Cheers, cheers, cheers. Sipping with
Hmm.
Snow. All right.
Hmm.
Let's go with the speed round.
So, all right. So my speed round, just for fun, just so people can get to know you even that much more better.
Mo better.
Mo better. Which military uniform was your favorite? BDUs, DCUs, ABUs, or
ABSGs. The ones we wore that felt like pajamas.
yes.
I love them because Manny Martinez, who we're talking about, we know that those uniforms are fireproof because he almost caught fire because he wasn't paying attention. And I know that uniform is fireproof, and I love the way they felt. So ABSGs were my favorite
Awesome. I
uniform.
still love my BDUs. I mean, yes, I would be a flaming ball of whatever with some BDUs, with all that starch we used to do that. But that was my pride in my uniform. So I'm still going to be a BDU fan. Okay. What is your favorite book?
Ooh, yeah, I'm a big reader, so I don't want to say what my favorite one is because I read so much. So I'll just tell you the one I just finished. How about that?
Okay. Okay.
So I just finished and I this is the second year in a row I've read it. Adam Grant's book, Think Again. I
Okay.
think it's a great book to renew your mind to start the new year.
Awesome. We'll add that link in there too on the bottom once we're done. Okay. Has there ever been a time that you were speechless, Mr. Conversator?
Yes, 4 times.
Ooh,
Their names
okay.
are Oshan, Andre, Tyler, and Lael. I think at their births, it was amazing every single time. And especially when the doctor handed me my son for the first time and said, "You're a dad," and it hit me for the first time because I was
Mhm.
21, so I didn't know what to do. So I'm looking at him like he's looking at me, and so there's just nothing you can say. But I'll remember that because that's when I became a father. So that
Mhm.
makes you speechless every time it happens. So I know it's corny, but
Now I love
that's.
it. Awesome. Aw, I love it. So one thing you haven't done but would like to.
uh, I want to go on a real vacation, and when I say a real vacation, I haven't gone on a vacation where I really did nothing. Um,
Mhm.
so on Netflix, they have this travel show where people go on these vacations and they really find these spots where there's nothing to do. Like
Mhm.
that's the point. So I want to have one of those vacations when people go, "Where'd you go?" And I say this fabulous place, and they go, "What did you do there?" Absolutely nothing. So that's my goal is to actually go on a real vacation versus how we vacation now. Let's go to Chicago and do this, or let's go to
Mhm.
this. We're going someplace to go do something versus go on vacation.
Exactly. I'll give you a tip. I'll give you a tip for that because we did it last year, 2020, going into 2021. We went to the Maldives and spent a week there and did nothing. So if you take yourself to a remote island, you don't have a choice.
See, you're living my
So,
dream, and that's exactly it. It's because I
yeah.
think we we don't relax. I mean, I love my job, I love what I do, but if you
Mhm.
don't recharge and you don't take a second to just reflect and go internal, sometimes I go crazy. So I get to do that in the house sometimes, but not it's not the same as vacation.
It's not. It's not. But take yourself to a remote island somewhere. It doesn't, wherever, and it forces you to just take in the beauty of nature. And usually, when you're in a remote island, you don't have really good connectivity anyway. So you get to bring all your books and you get to read and you know just be in the elements, which I love. It's awesome. So we'll definitely look forward to seeing when that trip is. So now you're charged. You got to make it happen.
I gotta make it happen.
For sure,
Most
for sure.
definitely. I'll
But
take
thank
that
you
one.
again. Yes, definitely. But thank you again. And to everybody else, thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys next week. So take care. Have a great weekend.
Take care. Great times. And one more cheers to you. Thank you.
Cheers, cheers.
Sip, sip.
Yep. Take care, bud.
Bye bye.